Among the tales of sorrow and of ruin that come down to us from the darkness of those days, there are yet some in which amid weeping there's joy, and under the shadow of death, light that endures. I wish it not have happened in my time, said Frodo. So do I, said Gandalf, and so do all who live to see such times. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us. I don't know half of you have as well as I should like, and I like less than half of you have as well as you deserve. What have I got in my pocket? These quotes are from the works of J.R.R. Tolkien. Not just these words, but many written by him cause us to feel sorrow, happiness, hate, inspiration, and even influences us to rethink the world and our lives. With his words, we are drawn into a mystical world of perfect, beautiful elves, mysterious forests, gentle hobbits, wise wizards, and battles so gruesome and large that our minds have trouble grasping their vastness. This is why I believe that J.R.R. Tolkien is the most inspirational author of all time. I will start by showing you how other authors' works are influenced by Tolkien's. Then I will explain how his work is biblical and so influences the beliefs of those of other faiths. And lastly, I will describe how Tolkien's work is now accessible to all ages, causing more and more children to read. There are so many authors that are influenced by Tolkien. Just to name a few, C.S. Lewis, Terry Goodkind, Christopher Paolini, and David Eddings, that to name all of them and how they're influenced would take me hours. It would take me days. So I'm going to focus on one author whose books have reached the hearts of children and adults of all ages. J.K. Rowling, the author of the famous Harry Potter series, denies straight out that any of her work has been influenced by J.R.R. Tolkien. She quotes in an AOL Live interview saying, "Well, I love The Hobbit, but I think if you set aside the fact that the books overlap in terms of dragons and wands and wizards, the Harry Potter books are very different, especially in tone. Tolkien created a whole mythology. I don't think anyone could claim that I have done that. On the other hand, he didn't have Dudley." Even though she speaks of the differences in their writing, the proof of the matter is in her stories. Both have wise wizards who seem to always come to the rescue or have all the answers. Frodo and Harry Potter are both orphans who must accept chaos and greatness in their lives. Voldemort and Sauron were never referred to by name. Instead, the characters call them he who must not be named or the nameless one. And I won't even start to describe the weird similarities between Shelob and Aragog, or Dementors in Ringwraiths. Tom Shippey, author of J.R.R. Tolkien, Author of the Century, says, Tolkienian words and images are learned so early and so thoroughly, possibly by compulsive rereading, that they become internalized personal property rather than literary debt. I believe that this is the case not only for Rowling, but for all authors who in their writing show that they have read Tolkien's work. When most people think of Tolkien, you think of fantasy and mythology. The last thing that ever crosses your mind is God and Jesus Christ. But so deep into his writings, Tolkien placed his Catholic belief, for he said in his 142nd letter to his family and publishers, "The Lord of the Rings is of course a fundamentally religious and Catholic work," he wrote. Unconsciously so at first, but consciously in the revision. That is why I have not put in or have cut out practically all references to anything like religion, to cults or practices in the imaginary world, for the religious element is absorbed into the story and the symbolism. If you have ever read the Lord of the Rings series, then you are aware of how it can be religious. Gandalf portrays Jesus Christ with his unwavering light and resolve towards good. He constantly not only saves the fellowship, but Middle-earth. The symbolism is even greater portrayed in the Mines of Moria when he's fighting the Balrog, and it takes him into the darkness, only to have Gandalf reemerge in the second movie, or the second book in this case, in Fangorn Forest, more powerful and there to assist them in defeating the evil. This is just like Jesus Christ dying on the cross for our sins in the Catholic religion. This relation to religion can be a little harder to grasp, but even the battle between good and evil affects those of other spiritual beliefs. According to J.R.R. Tolkien, a biography, the author Leslie Jones shares that even Wiccans, pagans, and neo-mystics claim Tolkien as theirs. His creation of the Elvish language and the appreciation of nature influences their beliefs. Whether it's Treebeard saving the forest, Frodo's fight against evil, or Gandalf's similarities to Jesus, we can all agree that the religious aspect of Lord of the Rings does not go unnoticed. No one can deny that the works of Tolkien are amazing, but there's in fact one barrier that makes it hard for people to even finish reading just one of his books. He describes every single forest and mountain in extreme detail, and the way he has written the books makes it hard to understand. So in this case, because of these reasons, some people don't even read these books until they are adults. Thanks to technology today, though, movies made Tolkien more accessible and in turn encourages children to read. In 2001, Peter Jackson turned Tolkien's masterpiece, The Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, into a motion picture. Shot primarily in New Zealand, the beautiful landscape, amazing cast, and realistic special effects turned our imaginations into life. It grossed $47.2 million on its opening weekend and $870.7 million worldwide. Not only was this movie embraced and accepted by fans who had read the books, but those who went to see the movie and never read the books found them amazing. In 2002, The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers was released, and in 2003, The Lord of the Rings was finished with Return of the King. Two Towers made $64.2 million in its opening weekend and $926 million worldwide, and The Return of the King made $377.9 million in its opening weekend and a grand total of more than 1 billion worldwide. More amazing than these numbers are the increase in book sales. The making of these movies shone a new light on Tolkien's books, encouraging people to read. In 2003, 25 million copies of Tolkien's books had been sold altogether in the United States. And between the time of the first movie coming out in 2001 to the last movie in 2003, 2 million books written by Tolkien were sold, just in the United States. And overall, altogether, 50 million copies of Tolkien's books, not just The Lord of the Rings, but his other works as well, were sold worldwide. Proof of children reading has been everywhere as well. Schools added novels such as The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings and Fellowship of the Ring into their curriculums. For example, at the River Springs Charter School, which is a homeschool program that offers classes, they have a class called Inklings, where they read Tolkien's work and then they study them and discuss them as a class. It's mainly for 10th to 12th graders, but it's open to all ages. Also, the libraries have been offering Tolkien-themed projects for children, such as at the Carnegie Library in Pittsburgh and the Santa Clarita Public Library. Karen Copley, an English teacher at McCracken Middle School, says that kids relate to Bilbo because he doesn't like to do things, but he does them anyway. In conclusion, there is no denying that J.R.R. Tolkien is one of the greatest authors of all time, but he's also the most influential. He influences other fantasy novel writers such as J.K. Rowling, and it shows in their work. Also, he influences us in a religious or spiritual way with his constant reference to the fight between good versus evil. Lastly, thanks to Peter Jackson, his work now influences children to read. The next time you are speaking to a family member, a friend, or even a mentor, and they ask you for your advice on what author that's most influential to read next, I hope that you respond with the name J.R.R. Tolkien. Thank you.
All right, Bobby, what did you think?
I enjoyed the thesis and the claim here. I'm already on your side, so there's no persuasion for me. I absolutely agree with you 110%. I like the audience analysis here because I think these movies, which is what everybody's seeing mostly, connects to everybody. And I'm pretty sure most everybody has seen this, so I like the connection there. I'll start with two negatives that I think, and they're really minor that I see, is a little bit of unintentional movement, probably some nervous energy, and I didn't quite grasp any transitions. Although I knew when you were transitioning, it wasn't clear in my face to it. But I understood when you were transitioning. Great intro. Awesome, I wrote down. I love it. I thrive on that kind of stuff. And so I thought that was a great intro. A lot of energy you had in that. I think energy overall you had was awesome. Very clear, so your clarity was out there. And again, audience connection and eye contact. When you were looking at us and you were involved with us, you really connected and your passion really came out in what you were talking about. So I can believe what you're telling me because you have a lot of passion behind it. So if I was on the other side of the fence, you might put me on the middle of the fence, but I'm already on your side. Structure, preview, I think was good. You know what, I didn't hear if there was a review. So I'm sorry, I can't say on that. Energy was high, you were on time, great intellectual info and structure of your info. It was really intellectual considering the topic there. And I think there was a lot of information that you presented to us that was tough to break away from your cards. So I'm on the fence on whether or not you use the cards too much because there was a lot of info and a lot of good info. So that's a lot to remember. So I'm okay with it. Other than that, awesome. Thank you.
All right, well, that makes my comments need to be much less involved because he said a lot of the things that I would have said and pointed out. I did hear the summary, so there was a summary, and you had a very nice exit line too, so I like that quite well. I like the energy level, but I do think it might be a little high. You know, I want you to be energetic. I want you to be involved, but sometimes it sounds like it feels like you're rushing a bit. And the movement thing, he's being kind about this. When you're doing the speech about the karate thing, you get away with a lot of movement because it's all part of your action. Here, it really feels like you're bouncing from one foot to the other. It's not quite ADD, but it's I'm going, and I think you need to be a little bit more controlled on the energy, both with the foot movement and with the delivery. Everything else, I'll go along with him on the most part. Okay, thank you.